What is going on? Thanks. I accidentally hit the button when I adjusted my microphone. I do not like the location of the mute button on this microphone. But welcome everybody. Welcome to those who are listening to my podcast. I appreciate you. And those who are watching right here, thank you, and thanks for everybody for letting me know. Well, you can't hear a thing I was saying to start with. Goodness, that sucks. But anyway, Tasha Latimer, how are you? Michael, thanks for the heads up, everybody. Appreciate it. Chris Cabral, what's going on, man? But this has been a pretty good week. I don't know if you guys heard because I probably was muted, but school's back in, so everybody's back in school. My wife's in charge of school nurses here in the area, so she's back to work, and I got the house by myself, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because I get to work without any distractions. It's a bad thing because I'm pretty good at finding my own distractions. So I've been working around the house this week and doing a little bit with videos, but kind of just trying to play catch up and clean up. So anyway, it is what it is. So, what else is going on? As always, from here on out until we decide to change things, our title sponsor is Bass University. There's a link that I'll throw up here just now that lets you guys know if you're interested in Bass University. Go to their website, sign up, $15 a month. I've been a member for ever. It's for a long time, probably 12 or 13 years. And it's worth it. I learned so much from their site. Tons and tons of information on there. Them and me, we have the same priorities. We just want to teach people how to fish. And that's why I kind of joined forces with them. And it's pretty cool, man. They've been friends of mine for years. And so I hope you guys enjoyed last week. It was really cool. And we're going to do that about once a month, probably. Either have oh my gosh, my mind just went blank. Have the owner of Bass University on or somebody from them on every single month. So it'll be fun. But anyway, Bobby, are you coming to Shreveport for the KBF Championship? I am. I just reserved my campsite for pre-fishing. I've got an Airbnb that I'm heading to after or just before the tournament. And then, me and Jordan are both fishing in it. So it ought to be pretty fun. So Christopher Cook, how you doing, man? It's good to see you, Gene. Again, Gene, get up to North Carolina again and let's go fishing. That would be fun. I haven't been in North Carolina in years. What is up? ATL Clutch, go Dogs. So, and yes, Bass University is well worth it. It's pretty cool. And I told them a long time ago, I said, look, I use your information in my videos because I don't know it. I know it all. I don't even pretend to know it all, but I want to give you guys always in my videos, want to give you guys as much information as I can. So I do a lot of research before I do a video and try to, round off all the information and stuff that I know with other people's smart remarks. So thoughts on the Pelican Catch 120? I've never been in one. I've been in Bonafide for a couple of years now. Just have never tried out a Pelican. So, Dean Bowling. Yeah, brother. Thanks for reminding me. So next week, I believe, let me look at my calendar. Is it next week? Yeah, no, the 27th of August. So in 2 weeks, this is a lot for you local guys, but we're going to have a Friday night live with a live studio audience at Westbrook Supply Company in Atlanta. It's just north of downtown on 75, right next to the Top Golf. But we're gonna go back to doing those at Westbrook Supply once a month. So it's on the 27th. Starts at 9 o'clock. They get there early, get there about 8:30 or 8 o'clock and kind of hang out. And I'll get there probably earlier than that to get everything set up. So, but anyway, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, and we'll talk about it next week, and I'll keep you guys reminded. But if you're local, man, come join us. It'd be a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, and trips coming up. So in a month, I'm leaving to go to, I've got a photo shoot for Seagar in northwestern Wisconsin. And then after that, I'm going to go spend some time up at one of my favorite lakes in Minnesota, up at Leech Lake. I'm probably not going to be fishing Leech. I'll probably be fishing somewhere in the Bemidji area just because they have cell phone service. And I'll be able to do some live stuff while I'm up there. That'll be fun. So that's what that's going to do. And then I come home 6 days later, go to the KBF National Championship. All right. Got all that done with. Let's all go ahead and start a Q&A, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. Elf Self, you want a bona fide? He says, it's been a while, but did you see my comment about the bona fide that I won from a giveaway? Now something happened and I won't get it. Oh, yeah, I saw that. I don't know what happened, man, but that absolutely sucks. I wish I could help. I don't know what to do to help. Kathy, Polly, how you doing? Michael, Ralph. I hate fishing in bathwater when it's fall coming. All I can catch them on is a Texas rig from like 5 to 9 a.m. Any tips for more enjoyment? Even this period of time, I'm catching mine between 10 in the morning and 5:30 in the afternoon, but I'm fishing deep and I'm fishing off of drops and edges of creek channels and that kind of stuff. But you just got to find them. It's so hard to find them this time of the year. But once you find them, they pretty much stay in that same area all summer long. You just have to kind of move around and find where the school moved to. But they usually don't move far. So, all right. Raul Tovar. He says, first live for me. Your videos are like my Bible when it comes to fishing. Thanks a lot. Just started fishing. That's awesome, man. Welcome to everybody who's new. That's awesome. And everybody be sure to hit the thumbs up. Let YouTube know that I'm streaming right now. That's pretty much all it does. And then it moves me up in the search deal so people can find us a little bit better tonight. So, see, Hook and Bass says, I'm doing a tournament on Toho next week. Any suggestions on being able to catch fish? Practice has been coming up with nothing. Ooh, Toho. I have fished Toho this time of the year. So I can tell you what pattern we figured out. I fished a tournament with MLF Pro Dave Lefebvre. It was the ICAST tournament mid-July on Toho. And I know that they're offshore and brush piles, and you got to find brush piles offshore, and that's where they're going to be and everything else. People dragging worms through those. What we did is we threw a Cinco's in areas where you look along the edge of the grass, and the grass would do this, and all of a sudden there'd be a little dip and like a ditch that ran up in the grass that really wasn't much of a ditch, but they were sitting right on the end of that ditch, and we'd catch one or two at every single end of every one of the ditches we saw along there, just dragging us a weightless or a lightly weighted Cinco. But yeah, that was fun. And it was even more fun because they were his Cinco's and not mine. ATL Clutch, I am not a spotted bass guy. I love to catch them. Absolutely love to catch them. But if you're asking me how to weed through spotted bass and get to the magnum spots, just throw a big lure, big swim baits. I know Mike Buca, that's how he started with the bull shad, was fishing Lake Altoona for magnum spots. So, Let's see. Okay, so this is a good question, Damon. You should have texted me, asked me this one, but it says during the Spro tournament, he's talking about the Spro kayak tournament. Can we put weights in our frogs? You cannot fish your frogs subsurface. So it's a fine line there. I put weights in my frogs just to push down on the mats if I'm mat fishing. I will not use that frog to fish open water because it might sink a little bit or it might get under the water. I usually will weight them to where they just barely stay above the water so they're still legal. But if they start to sink, I reel them back in. Okay, so that's the deal. I weight mine if I'm mat fishing, but I have another one tied on a different rod for open water fishing so it doesn't sink. Just make sure just make sure you follow the rules. That's all it is. Stephen Guthrie, Fluke, you're not fishing the KBF Challenge Series this month. This month I have a chance. No, dude, I think I'm done for a while. I maxed out my Angler of the Year points for the challenge, so I think I'm just gonna kind of lay back since I got so much traveling to do and not worry about it. 3 wins this year. That's all I needed. So you're going to fish during this hurricane. If I can, I will. I have fished during a couple of hurricanes, and it always is good fishing. Frankie Booker, I'm fishing Rocky Mountain Recreation Area near Rome, Georgia for the first time tomorrow. Any tips? Woo! The biggest tip I can tell you is stay away from the bank. Hold on a second. But yeah, stay away from the bank is the biggest thing I can tell you. So I just lost my area light and I don't have my plug, so I'm not going to worry about it. It ain't going to hurt nothing. Jordan must have been using it. And the battery just died on it. That's okay. All right. So, but yeah, get off the bank. Right now, all the fish or most of the good fish are offshore. 8 to 12 feet of water. Maybe deeper than that now, maybe 15, 16. Haven't been there for a couple of weeks. But sorry, Damon, you're going to have company tomorrow if you're fishing. But yeah, that's where they're at. So Dean Bowling asked me, how do you like the new dual screen fish finder setup? I love it. I think if I start running the new Bonafide pedal drive, that I'm going to have to figure things out because I love it in between my feet. I love having it directly in front of me. I don't know if I want it off to the side to get in the way of fighting a fish and that kind of stuff. But it might just be something I have to get used to. Who knows? Any advice on muddy bottom lakes? The first thing that came to mind, Zeke, is oh my goodness, is a Ned rig. Is what I do when I'm fishing muddy bottom lakes. I don't want baits that are going to sink down in the mud. I literally would take a Ned rig, 1/10 ounce, put on a finesse TRD, throw it out, let it sink to the bottom, and then I'll just start reeling and kind of shaking my rod tip a little bit, just reeling and shaking. And I'm getting that bait just above that mud and getting it to swim and start, doing some really cool action and that kind of stuff. I don't let it sink into the bottom. Biggest thing about muddy bottom lakes is you just don't fish things that are going to sink down in the mud and you'll catch fish. But a Ned rig is always great in that situation when you're just off of that mud. So John Ressler, never been to New York. Where's that comment? Just popped away. There it goes. Doug Ward says fishing next week in a small 10-acre lake in North Carolina that has smallmouth. Any tips? I have never fished for smallmouth in my life, and you're on the bank. I've never fished that lake, but I can tell you a few things. Smallmouth don't mind current. They want to have some moving water. They don't mind suspending, and they're really aggressive. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know what the conditions are on your lake. I don't know what pushes them off. And I'm not a great smallmouth angler. I'm just decent. So let's see. What's the best bait for summer fishing? The one the bass want. Or the one, and also the one that you have the most confidence in. My confidence summer bait is a big ribbon tail worm on a Texas rig or on a Carolina rig. Another one, if it's super clear water, I'll go to a Carolina rig with a trick worm on it or something like that. It just all depends. I just let the bass tell me what they want. Oh, let's see. Nellie's Fishing Adventures. Have you ever considered coming to Canada for fishing? Kayak fishing has really grown here. past few years, we would average 50 anglers per tournament. Now this year, we're seeing 100 anglers. That's awesome. I have fished Canada once. I was almost out of high school. I was about to graduate. My dad took me up for a caribou hunt up in northern Quebec, and I caught Arctic char. Other than that, I haven't. Canada, right now, I'm just going to wait for all this COVID mess to kind of slow down again, and maybe I'll try to get up there. I don't know. I got some good friends that fish up there all the time. So Aaron Weeb, you may know him. I might hit him up for a trip one of these days. So let's see. Flipping Florida fishing. Thanks for the $10, man. I appreciate it. You're awesome, brother. You are awesome. Thank you. What's my favorite lake to fish in South Carolina? I love Lake Murray. I love Lake Russell, and I spent 15 years on Clark's Hill, or what you guys call Strom Thurmond Reservoir. So I'm not going to rag on Strom Thurmond. I love to, but I'm not to. Going, this isn't a political thing. But man, that man was so old when he was a senator. Anyway, I'm gonna stop there. I've been catching them lately here in South Georgia on big Texas reed worms. That's the way to do it, man. I'm telling you, the bigger the better. Oh, wait, I thought that said a Ned rig on a whopper plopper. I was trying to figure out how the heck you would do that, but it says a Ned rig and a whopper plopper. Good summertime baits, definitely. 2 words, never used in bass fishing, always and never. Best swim bait, rod and reel. Wow. I can't tell you what the best one is. I can tell you what I use. I use a 13 Fishing Envy swim bait rod with a Concept A3 reel. And the A3 is a 300 size reel, which is what you want with big swim baits. And I throw big bull shads, 9 and 11 inch bull shads on them. These are like 1 pound weights or 1 pound lures. So definitely just there's a bunch of good ones out there, but I don't throw them enough to really need to have the best. So are you going to have a motor with pedals? Probably not. I don't see any reason for right now. At this point in time, probably not. I totally enjoyed your video this week of your 4 baits for all-day fishing. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, sir. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, I started the monthly baits videos earlier this year, and then a lot of the YouTubers started copying me, which I don't mind. It doesn't bother me at all. So I thought I'd change it up a little bit and talk about baits during the day, especially summertime, because summertime is like 4 different days. They act 4 different ways during the day, and I kind of geared it towards that. So I'm glad you liked it, man. I appreciate it. Where did that comment go? Goodness gracious. Outdoor Jack, I saw your comment, and I don't know, man. I've never used that reel, but I can't find your comment again. So BC Fishing, thanks for $10. He says, every time again August comes around, I always consider selling my boat. Yes, that's me. It's tough. I've been showing up to the lake with no rods on the deck and try to figure something out. Thanks for all the tips. I appreciate it, man. Oh, man, and thank you for the $10. I get it. If you guys have been following me for any period of time, August is the hardest month for me. I have the roughest, toughest time to just get motivated to get up and go out and go fishing. Any other month of the year, I'm pretty good. But August, like I said in that video, you can only get so naked until it's illegal. I just hate being hot. Oh, gosh almighty, I hate being hot. So, goodness gracious. Okay. Sorry, I'm reading comments. What's the best way to find new confidence baits? Because right now my only confidence bait is big swim baits in late summer. Leave your big swim baits at home. Don't take them on the water. Literally leave them at home. Pick 2 new ones that you've never fished before. Pick a swim jig. Pick a jig. If you got hard bottom lakes, pick a jig. Go fishing. But don't take swim baits anymore. And you'll be forced to find another confidence bait. So you can have more than one, I promise. No rule says you can only have one confidence bait. Any advice for Leech Lake, Minnesota going the week of Labor Day? Thanks. Ooh. Carl, I want to report when you get back because I'm going to be at Leech Lake in towards the end of next month. So once hoodie weather comes around, it gets a little bit chillier. Leech Lake this time of the year, I have fished it a few times. Pay attention to the wind. If you get 2 or 3 good days of good steady wind in one direction, where that wind is blowing is going to push that rice grass into the pockets or up and mat it up into whatever it catches on in shallow water. And those largemouth will get up underneath those mats. Put a 1/2 ounce to a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight on a flipping hook and braided line and go flipping a green pumpkin creature bait, but dip the tails in methylate JJ's Magic or not the tails, the claws in JJ's Magic, methylate to turn them orange because the crawfish this time of the year, because of all the grass on Leech, are green pumpkin and orange. And I caught 80 fish in one day. The first day I ever fished Leech Lake because of that. Just pay attention to the wind, look for the mats. That's what I'll be doing is looking for those rice grass mats and just trying to punch in that rice grass. Now the bass are probably not going to be on the bottom because it's real mushy, but they'll be just underneath those grass mats. So drop it in and then bring it up and shake it underneath those mats and you'll catch them. So, let's see. Hey, Gene, your videos have helped me and my son be better anglers, and I'm truly thankful. I know you're sponsored by 13, but what's your opinion on 13 Fate Origin baitcaster sold at Dick's? I'm trying to figure out. They just came out with a new Origin. So the old Origin is a good reel. It's a great reel. Good for your son. Good for a weekend angler. If you're gonna fish a lot, it's probably not going to last you a long time unless you really take care of it and clean it and everything else. That's just kind of the way it's made. It was a sub $100 reel. The new ones coming out are really good comparative to the old ones. So take your pick. You can buy the old ones. It'll be just fine for your son and stuff like that. And you too, if you're only going to be a weekend angler. But honestly, if in my opinion, and I know they don't want me to say this, I would wait for the new ones to come out because they're freaking awesome. So, and I got this little bitty fly flying around me that's bugging me to death. But anyway, and they're only $60, $65, and $70. The $70 one's feels like a $125 reel all day long. So, can I use a heavy rod to toss jigs? Yes, you can. You sure can. One of my rods that I jig fish with is a 7.4 heavy. Ever fished Latham Reservoir in Dawsonville? I have once, so many years ago, I can barely remember. I know I've been on it. I just don't remember fishing it. So, when do you use an offset worm hook versus an EWG? I use an EWG when I am fishing fat plastics, like big, wide, those, I don't have them. I took them out today. But anyway, the Magnum Old Monsters, tubes, anything that's really, really thick plastic, I'll use an EWG. I use an offset worm hook for trick worms and thinner worms. But most of the time I'm actually using a straight shank Gamakatsu G-Finesse flipping hook is what I'm using. Not the heavy one, but the regular flipping hook is what I'm using most of the time. I just get better hook sets that way. But all those are really good. So, what's the best rod to pair with a Corrado DC? Really, any rod. There's not a specific rod that's perfect for a specific reel. It's a specific reel that's paired with a specific technique, and the rod works for that technique. And so, you know, there's no perfect rod for a reel. If that makes sense. Okay. So you match the rod to the technique, and the reel to how fast you want to reel it in, basically is the way I look at it. If I'm cranking and I want to crank slow and I have a habit of not paying attention to what I'm doing, I'm going to fish a slow reel. I'm going to fish a fast reel if I'm fishing a jig or a Texas rig, because I want to be able to get that bait back in as fast as I can and make another cast. I also want to catch up with a fish. If it bites it on slack line and I don't feel the bite, I want to be able to catch up to that fish. So it all depends, but there's no, like I said, there's no reel that's perfect for a rod, or vice versa. Anyway. Outdoor Jack says I've been I've been killing it on spinner baits. I'm just busting your chops, man, for you for your typo. It says I've really been killing it on spinner baits, and it's the dead of summer. I believe it. You probably have to bump those spinner baits up against something, but you catch the snot out of them. So Tony B, he says, I'm new to fishing, took your advice, and my canoe up to the National Forest in the UP of Michigan. Amazing time catching great fish. Thanks for your help. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. You've got the bug. Now you're in trouble. You better get yourself another bank account. I'm kidding. Oh, Benjamin, man, thanks for the $5. He says, you try out the little frog yet that you liked at iCast? If so, what was your setup? I have not tried it out yet. It's sitting on my mantle. I'm probably going to put it on a medium spinning rod to see if that works, because the hooks aren't really that thick. So, all right. Wow, I was way behind on comments. Sorry, guys. Do you fish for any other fish besides bass? In the wintertime, I'll fish for crappie. In the early summer, I'll fish for bluegill with my kids. When I go up to Minnesota, I will fish for smallmouth and for walleye. And then I love fishing for redfish and trout, spotted or speckled trout down in Louisiana, in the Louisiana Delta, which I hope to do sometime this year if things slow down. So, John, you know how many times I've heard that saying? John says, winds from the east do fish bite the least. So the old folks saying is, if there's wind from the east, fish bite the least. I don't believe it for a minute. I really don't. Any kind of wind creates current, positions fish the way, more predictably. And so I don't believe it. I've caught great fish with the east wind. Marvin Prado, have you ever fished Massachusetts or New England in general? Do you have any particular tips for bass fishermen up here? I have not. I've been up there. I had to take a trip up there the year before last for a trade show. My mom was born in West Newbury, Massachusetts, but she was 10 years old when she moved out of there. But I love it up there. It's beautiful. You got beautiful lakes, a lot of rock and that kind of stuff. I'd be throwing jigs. But remember, a bass is a bass. You watch my videos, you watch anybody else's videos, and you pull stuff away that pertain to the type of water you're fishing, clarity, cover, structure, that kind of stuff. And then you go fish those techniques and stuff according to that, and you'll be able to catch a bass. I mean, it's a predator fish, and predator fish, a lot of them act pretty similar. So, what's the go-to bait caster length? I'm assuming you mean casting rod, a bait casting rod length. My go-to is anything 7 foot or longer is what I typically use the most, unless I'm walking a frog and then I have a short, heavy action rod. My spinning rods are less than 7 feet, but most of my bait casters are 7 foot to 7'11", so anywhere in that range. So, but it just all depends on what you're comfortable with. I know some old guys that don't fish anything over 6'8". Every one of their rods are less than 6'8". So I don't know. Paul Elander, thanks for the $10. I'm trying to find your comment. It is way down, and you guys are killing me with those comments. Goodness. Thanks for the $10, brother. He says, thanks for the videos. Taught my 6-year-old nephew how to fish the drop shot and got started on watching your videos too. That's awesome. That is awesome. You know who taught me how to fish a drop shot? You guys, and I talk about it all the time, the bull shad, Mike Buca, when he was guiding before he started making the bull shad, he taught me how to fish a drop shot. So I caught matter of fact, the deepest fish I've ever caught was 55 feet deep on a drop shot. It was a spotted bass. And that was the day he was teaching me how to use it. So that was when drop shot was like barely even talked about anywhere. So that's awesome, man. Congratulations. I know your nephew is stoked. Definitely. Let me grab this comment before it disappears because they like to do that. Jason, thanks for the $5. He said, what is the right time to throw a chatterbait? I typically will throw it in the summertime. I'm going to anywhere there's grass lakes, I'm going to throw it any time of the day. But if I'm fishing a lake without grass, I typically won't throw it until either early morning or in the evening after 6 o'clock when the sun's starting to go down. So that's just me, though. Then that has a lot to do with the lakes I'm fishing too. But if you got any kind of grass, man, throw a chatterbait all day long. Uh-oh. Army Outdoors says 88 in November. That's a good MOS. It says, guess who blew his first hub on his trailer today? Thank God I have a tandem trailer. I'll be boatless for a week. Oh, that sucks, man. Yeah, this is not a good time of the year to blow a hub. Definitely. At least you can get your boat either off the road or at home or get it home. So I blew one on a tandem once, and the other tire was in such bad shape there was no way I was going to get it home. I had to get somebody to come get it. So all right, I'm going to go back up, see what comments are, what questions I missed. Stephen Guthrie, thanks for helping me answer questions. Anybody else that's helped me keep these questions rolling, I appreciate you. I really do. How fast do you recommend fishing deep diving crankbaits? I typically fish them really slow once they get to the bottom. I want to see a bait. Well, in my head, I want to imagine the bait look like something feeding on the bottom. So I'm just, once I feel the bottom, I'm going to slow down as slow as I can go and still feel the bait tick in the bottom is what I do. Rarely do I fish it too fast unless the fish are really aggressive or if they're suspended and feeding up a little bit. A lot of times I'll throw something that goes right over top of them but not hitting anything. That's when I'm going to fish it fast. So they don't get a good look at it is the biggest thing. So on the bottom, I'm fishing it slow. Up in a water column, I'm fishing it fast. So Carl Rotman said, thanks. If you're in the Twin Cities and want to avoid the crazies on Lake Minnetonka, I'm never fishing Lake Minnetonka ever again. Try Lake Waconia or Lake Sarah in Rockford, Minnesota. Yeah, I fished Minnetonka once. Never again. Not just crazies. There's some folks that own $200,000 boats that shouldn't even be driving a bicycle. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm going all the way up to Bemidji is where I'm going to end up. So do you watch any of Major League Fishing Toyota series? Ever thought of doing it yourself? I've never thought of doing it myself. I watch a bit of it. My son is a super fan, and so he pretty much keeps me up to date on what's going on. Oh, let's see. Did you ever come out with the 6.6 rod? Not yet. I am still trying to talk Ricky into making one for 13. I still have the 6.5 heavies. I might be able to get him to make me one that's like 6.10 or 6.9. They just, except for people who know me and watch my videos and understand why I fish such a short, heavy rod for frogs, nobody else is going to buy those rods. And because they've been ingrained in their head that it has to be a 7'4" to 100-foot long frog rod. It doesn't, but anyway, one day, and it will be soon, that we'll at least have one that's at least maybe 6.8 or 6.10 heavy for frogs. So maybe it'll have my name on it. Who knows? So believe me, I have 4 of those 6.5 heavies, and I guard them with my life. What's your current favorite offshore lure to use? Also, how should I know when to go deep or shallow? I got 2 baits, a jig and a Texas rig worm. If Damon's still on here, or Stephen Guthrie even knows this, that's what I throw. It's pretty much all I have on my kayak. That's all I have on my boat when I'm fishing offshore. Very rarely do a deep crank unless we have really good windy weather. Again, and the way I always tell is I'll look across the surface of the water. If there's nothing ticking the surface or very, very little, or if the bass are just coming up and schooling and then going back down and disappearing, I'm going to stay deep. But if there's a lot of surface action, be it bait fish, be it birds, be it anything, I'm going to go up shallow and at least try. And I'm going to try that several times during the day just to keep myself honest. But typically in the summertime, I'm almost always looking deep, unless it's late in the evening, and that's it. And I don't get up early in the morning in the summertime, or at least I don't get out on the lake. I'll get up and do chores and stuff in the morning and then go to the lake when it gets hot. Jay, how'd you get that name on YouTube? That's pretty cool. Just the letter J. He says, hey, Fluke Master, my 4-year-old daughter just caught her first 16-inch largemouth bass in Montello, Wisconsin, on a green pumpkin Cinco wacky rigged. I have it all on film. It was such a thrill. That's so freaking awesome. Oh, man. It makes me think about all of my kids' first fish. Gosh, I remember Jake's, he was sitting in his stroller, and I gave him a 7'11" light rod with a worm on it, and he was sitting on the dock, and he just laid the rod down next to himself, and a fish grabbed the worm, and he picked it up, and there was the fish. He don't remember it, but I think he was like 11 months old. That's awesome. Memories, man. That's what you're making. Let's see. What's the best place to fish in Atlanta, Georgia? I am not sure. There's a lot of good lakes around there. Jax, the best thing to do is go to the wildlife management area or the wildlife resources website and look up, or it might even be Department of Natural Resources website. Go into their fishing icon and look up where to fish. And they have a search in there. You can search by county, and it'll give you all the public lakes. The ones that are the best are usually the county-owned lakes that are water supply, usually electric only, or you can throw a kayak in or anything like that. But those are typically the best lakes in the area. So, and then our lake right up the road, Rocky Mountain PFA. If you know it well, it's one of the best lakes in the country. But it takes a while to get to know that lake. Definitely does. And that's not just coming from me. It comes from a lot of people fishing it, because a lot of people come out here and go fish it and never catch a thing and never come back. And that's not a bad thing for us. So. Oh, Taylor Bogus. He says, whatever happened to the fight between you and Chad Hoover? So Chad Hoover and I were going to have a boxing match. And then Chad Hoover had an almost heart attack. And we decided it would probably, if we were 10 or 15 years younger, it was a good idea. But at our age, probably wasn't the best of ideas. So we stopped worrying about it, definitely. So He'd probably kick my butt now. He's healthy and lost 100 pounds. Will bass set up on middle depths of structure or always the deepest where it flattens out? Typically, for me, this time of the year, bass, if there's current, they're going to set up on the edges, on the top edges of drops. And the way I determine what depth is usually I'll go out into the deeper water and I'll look for balls of bait fish. And the balls of bait fish, you'll notice, at least on your fish finder, you'll notice they're always at like a small depth range. And that small depth range is the same depth I'm going to look for those drops. I'm going to look for the tops of those drops. And that's typically, if there's current or wind or stuff like that, that's typically where they'll set up. And so it's not always the deepest. It usually has to do with whatever depth that those bait fish are at. And then it's kind of like hunting. You set up a deer stand to ambush your deer. Same thing with bass. They set up on a place to ambush the bait as it swims by. So they're going to hide on places. And they're going to be in places that funnel bass to them or funnel bait fish to them too as well. So, man, this one is flying by. Have I ever fished the Ogeechee River? I have a couple of times. It is a great kayak trip. It definitely is. I have fished it. I went on a 2-day paddle trip once in it. It was really good. So, I've ever fished Potomac River. I have not. Tips for taking your kayak on big, busy lakes such as the Chick. I've been nervously getting out there. To be honest with you, the biggest thing is you need to be seen. And so the taller the flag, the better. The brighter the kayak, the better. Have paddles that are bright. Like if I'm on a big lake, I leave my black paddle at home and I grab my orange paddle. But on like Chick, start at a, oh my goodness, I haven't been there so long. I'm forgetting places. Start at Chester Frost. Just fish around inside Chester Frost to start with if you're really nervous, because there's always fish in Chester Frost. You can always find something to catch. And then venture out into the mouth of Chester Frost, go up to the, go up river, just paddle around and stay close to the bank to start with. You'll get used to it. It just takes a little bit of time, but the biggest thing is you need to be seen. And then if you have a kayak that's not stable, then you have to remember to really pay attention to waves and wakes and things like that and turn into them. So that's why I love my Bonafide. That's why Hobies are good out on big lakes, because they're super stable. Bonafides, big rigs, a lot of those big, wide, stable kayaks are really good. Do you only use worms on deep Texas or Carolina rigs, straight tail or curly tail worms? Yeah, I use in the summertime. I typically go nothing but worms. I just have never had a lot of luck on creature baits, unless I'm flipping grass and that kind of stuff. But if I'm just working offshore structure with no grass, I'm typically dragging worms. So, somebody looking for information on the Ogeechee River, Southeast Georgia kayak bass fishing. Sorry. Have you been to Lake Marion? And if so, do you think it has big fish in it? Yes, it does. Lake Marion does have big fish. A concentration of them, I don't know. It's been a lot of years since I fished Lake Marion. But I think it does. I really do. So, and I'm assuming you mean the Lake Marion in Florida. Thoughts? What are your thoughts on Thermocline and its impact on fishing placements? Like what I just said about the bait fish, the balls of bait fish, the Thermocline there's a reason why those bait fish are there, and it usually has a lot to do with that Thermocline. So what the Thermocline is when the water gets really hot, and a lot of lakes don't develop a Thermocline. Lakes with a lot of current, lakes that don't get hot up north, you don't get Thermoclines very often. But lakes down here in the south, we really do. Water temperature up top is so hot that and it builds heat, and then the cool water sinks and keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And that cool water, hold on a second. There we go. That cool water holds the most oxygen. And as that cool water gets deeper and deeper, the fish go deeper and deeper with that oxygenated water. And so that's what a thermocline is. And you can literally see it on your electronics. And it does. It positions fish because that's where they're going to breathe. If there's grass, they're going to be in the grass, or they're going to be out on the thermocline. But if there's no grass, that thermocline has everything to do with where the fish are located. So Johnny Payne Outdoors, man, thanks for the $5. He says, I'll be on Dardanelle tomorrow. There's a front with rain moving in tonight and through tomorrow. What are some ideas that you want to look for? If it's still going to be raining tomorrow, if there's not like thunder and lightning, typically it's pretty good fishing. I'm going to throw moving baits until I get to the point where I don't feel like they're going to bite moving baits. And then I'm going to go flip visible cover. I'm going to flip boat docks, stumps, logs, whatever I can see in the and if Dardanelle has brush piles or buck brush, I'm going to flip the deeper buck brush that I can see, that kind of stuff. So definitely. Thanks for the $5, Johnny. I appreciate you, man. Goodness. Ricky Jennings, thanks for the $5. Say, what's up when fishing with a bait caster? If you're right-handed, should you get a left-handed bait caster reel for better hook set, or does it matter? It is your personal preference. For me, I cannot fight a fish on a bait caster with the rod in my right hand and reeling with my left. I can't. I don't have the coordination to do it. So I switch hands. I cast my right hand. I switch hands as the bait's hitting the water, and I'm reeling and doing everything else with my right hand. So it's all your personal preference. It's what you can do the best. There's no right or wrong answer. There are people out there that will rip you left and right for switching hands, and I could give a rat's butt what they have to say because I know what's best for me. So anyway, definitely. Let's see. Colin Burnett, $10, man. Thanks for the dono, man. I appreciate you. I really do. That's awesome. He said, hey, Fluke, I'm driving a big truck, and I wanted to say thanks for putting your live in podcast format anchor down. That's awesome, man. I love doing it. I really do. I wish I could have time or have maybe one day I'll have the knowledge to be able to do more on that podcast, but I'm just glad I'm able to put it up so you guys can listen to it. So stay safe on the road, man. My son's leaving to drive back to Utah tomorrow. He's already said goodbye, and he's driving his cousin out there. So that's where he lives now. Jake does, my oldest son. Yo, Kevin told me to follow you. Thanks for the schooling. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it. Have I been to Pennsylvania? If so, what are some good baits? I have not been to Pennsylvania. Good baits, dude. I said it earlier today. A bass is a bass is a bass. It's a predator fish. It's going to react to certain baits. I've caught a bass on a number 2 pencil. I don't think I've ever told you guys that. Yeah, one time I made a lure out of a number 2 pencil and I caught a bass. But anyway, so they'll hit anything if they're in the right mood, or if it's presented correctly, or if it scares the crap out of them, they're going to hit it. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what good lures are for certain states. Use what you got confidence in, or try something new. It's up to you, man. So I hate beating around the bush about that, but there's really no really good answer for that question. Fishing with Steven. I have not fished Lake Paris. Let's see. Bobby Sharpley, how do you donate? You go to my YouTube channel and you click on there's a little, it's a little money symbol at the bottom called Super Chat. And you click on it and follow the directions is what you do. But it's through YouTube. So, Mr. Fisherman says, just got back from fishing a golf course pond and got 2 bass after no luck for ages. That's awesome, man. That is awesome. Black Bass Angler, how you doing, girl? She said, what's up, my friend? Right now, there's a ceiling fan and the ceiling, and my bedroom's right above us. Anyway, welcome, girl. I hope you're not just joining us. I hope you've been here for a minute. Are you fishing the Bassmasters kayak series next year? Probably. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I'm going to try. It depends on their schedule. Biggest thing with me is the travel. I'm going to spend all that time and all that money for a one-day tournament. It just doesn't feel like it's worth it. And so if they were to move those to a 2-day tournament, it would be more enticing for me. But that's just me and my personal preference. But I'll probably fish. If there's some that are close, I'll fish a few of them. So who just wait a John says, where they are is what you really want to know, where the fish are. I tell you where the fish are, John. You want to know exactly where they're at? There's a specific place where you'll always find your fish, and you'll find them every time you go fishing. They will be in the water. I promise. I absolutely promise. They were going to be in the water. So, sorry. Felt like being a smart butt for a minute. Update the graph or motorize the kayak. I have an Attack 140, so I would have to use the Torpedo. Wow. Go with a motor. Definitely. Yeah, go with a motor. And One Objective doesn't make a mount for a front mount for a kayak or for a Attack 140. Huh. I didn't know that. That's cool, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the $5, brother. Huh. I have to look that up. Joshua with a $5 dono. See, I talk about donations and then you guys throw money at me. You don't have to do that. I really don't. It's not required, I promise. Have you ever fished Lake of the Ozarks in the fall? Any tips for it in early October? Crankbaits. I haven't, but I got a good buddy that fishes it regularly, and he loves to throw crankbaits parallel in the bank when the water starts to cool off. The bass move up on those on those 45-degree banks. Definitely. Matthew Wadzager, thanks for the $20, man. He says, just bought my first jar of JJ's Magic Clear. Any tips on how do you use it, and does it ever go bad? It doesn't ever go bad. It will evaporate over time. Even if you have the bottle shut, it will evaporate. Sorry, I ate pizza before I came down here. Go on my YouTube page or my YouTube channel. Click on the little magnifying glass and do a search for JJ's Magic. I have a video on how to use it. Biggest thing is when you store it upright, because that lid is designed to release pressure. And if it's laying on its side, it'll spill out. But it's great stuff. The way I do it with clear is I will dip my baits in the clear before I dip them in any other color. But I always have clear on my soft plastics. Don't use Z-Man soft plastics on it because they'll dissolve, because they're not made of the same soft plastic as everything else. So, man, everybody's donating. Y'all are awesome. Holy cow. But yeah, that's what you do. But there's a very detailed video that I have on my channel about how to use JJ's. So, and my second favorite color is chartreuse, followed by methyolate. Those are usually the three I make sure that I have plenty of. So, Bill, man, thanks for the $5. I just want to say thanks. Retired. Enjoying KBF. Still can't catch offshore, but working on it. I'm watching your videos. Thanks, man. Yeah, offshore is one of those things. It takes a couple of years. It takes a long time. It took me a lot longer than a couple of years to figure out offshore stuff. But there's plenty of information out there about it. And I'm not the best at it. I just know that it takes a long time to find it. So it's one of those things that once you find a spot, you kind of guard it a little bit, because you put the work in, you get the reward. That's for sure. Real Deal Outdoors, man. Thanks for the $5. It says, have experience in brackish systems. A little bit. We have brackish waters and windblown tides. The rules of bass fishing are different. Hard to pinpoint patterns. It is. I'm going to have a guest on here one of these days. He's a friend of mine, and he's been guiding tidal and brackish waters for 25, 30 years. And I'm looking forward to having him on here. So just stay tuned. I'm gonna get him on here, and he'll help you guys with those situations for sure. So Large schools of bait fish busting in the middle of the lake during early morning. Are bass likely out there feeding, and what do I throw if so? Deep water. Yes, typically it's going to be some type of bass. In my experience, it's usually small bass, but there's sometimes some big bass mixed in. Honestly, my favorite bait to throw at schooling fish. If you know that those fish are being chased by a predator fish, I like a spy bait. You know, those baits that sink with a prop on the front and a prop on the back. I like them because I throw them out and I reel them just barely under the surface. I don't fish them the way they everybody on YouTube tells you how to fish them. I just reel them barely under the surface, and they're great for schooling fish. A fluke is really good. And then an inline spinner like a rooster tail will work as well. So, oh, you ain't kidding. The Southeast Georgia Kayak Bassin says Craig Dye is a master at crankbaiting. Oh, you ain't kidding. That son of a gun can flat fish a crankbait. He's a buddy of another kayak friend of ours. So, Bobby, thanks for the $5, brother. I appreciate you, man. Beating the bank says I had pizza for dinner too. Yeah, mine was homemade pizza. So I make my own sauce out of the tomatoes I grow in my garden. So we make a lot of homemade pizza around here, and it's spaghetti. It's just red sauce is what it is. So it's spaghetti sauce and pizza sauce and any other kind of Italian sauce we want it to be. So Junior Figueroa says, how do you identify fish that are blowing up on thread fin on the surface? I can't tell if it's sand bass, largemouth bass, or spotted bass. How do you go about catching these fish? Thank you, sir. All right. The biggest thing to identify them for me is sound, mainly. So a sand bass or a striper or a hybrid or any kind of a white bass, I have figured out they very seldom break the surface. So back in the day when I fished Clark's Hill, we'd have bass schooling out in the middle of 100 to 120 feet of water. They'd be schooling on bait fish. And the way I always could tell from a long ways away, if I saw a school just going crazy on bait fish, is that if there was any fish that broke the surface, there was largemouth in that school. If they never broke the surface and the only thing coming out of the water was the bait fish, it was stripers or white bass or sand bass in your situation. So if the bass break the surface, they're largemouth. Or spotted bass. Spotted bass will flat come all the way up out of the water. It's crazy, amazing, and everything else. So that's kind of how I do it. It's by what they look like and what they sound like. And you'll get it throughout time, but that's kind of the gist of it for sure. Is Jordan going to get a job at Illumicraft when he gets his? Oh, you're talking about Jake. Benjamin, is Jake going to get a job at Illumicraft when he gets his welding down packed? I see huge discounts for you, Eugene. I don't know, really. I literally anybody that has anything to do with hiring people for welding. If I'm talking and just in conversation, I tell them that my son's going to welding school, they flat offer him a job right then and there. It's the craziest thing. It really is. I got a job offer for him to work as a fabricator in Northern California. When he gets out of school, he hadn't even started yet. And so, yeah, it's crazy, man. It really is crazy. And finally, with Jake, I have to be patient. You know, I have to be one of those patient dads where I just let him figure things out on his own. Let him figure out that it's time to start doing stuff. So I let him move out there, let him spend a little time on his own, let him get bored with his job. And he's like, finally gets to the point where, you know what? I need to go start my life. So it's hard being a patient dad. It really is. I just want to choke him sometimes. Jennifer Ellis says, I need to do a catch and cook video. You know what? That might not be a bad idea. It might not be a bad idea. I love to cook. I smoked 2 Boston butts yesterday and smoked some chicken wings. Yeah, I had a good time. It was a going away party for my nephew. So, all right. Fluke Master, I just caught 3 keepers with a 10.5-inch Texas rigged ribbon tail worm. I'm going to put them down around the bottom of stick ups tomorrow. Thanks for the August fishing tips. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Go watch the video I shot last year on a different way to fish a Texas rig, and go do that tomorrow and watch what happens. So Drew Stunts, thanks for the $5. He says, also, I have pretty wicked lake I could show you here in northern Wisconsin while you're in my neck of the woods. I hope I got time, man. I really do. I'm getting there. We've got, like I said, we got a photo shoot, which is this is a full-on commercial photo shoot with a professional photographer and everything else. It's going to be busy, busy, busy. I love doing them, but man, I'm always tired at the end of it. Then I've got campsites reserved up at Lake Bemidji State Park. So I love camping up that way. So Colin Bennett, thanks for the $20, man. You're awesome. He says, I'm fishing a tournament tomorrow on Nickajack. I've been catching them flipping grass, went out there today, and they have been spraying to kill the grass. What's your thoughts on fishing the river? Temp is 84. Man, I hate when they spray the grass this time of the year. And I know why they do it. I understand it. I'm not against it. The river, if you can find green grass that hasn't been sprayed, the bass are going to be in it. It really is. They can't spray the whole lake all at once. But that's the hard thing, is doing that. The rivers, typically running the river is pretty good, but it's gonna be busy. You're gonna have a lot of people there. You really are. But I love going up there and fishing those the current breaks and stuff like that. But gosh, anyway, I'm not gonna get into spraying. I agree with it. I know that it needs to be done. They put too much money into it, and if they don't spend that money by the end of the year, they lose that money, because that's the way the stupid government works. I was in the military. I've spent $32,000 on office supplies I didn't need because I had to keep a budget. Actually, no, it was $82,000 because I had to keep a budget for the next year. Stupid. But anyway, don't get me on that tangent. Let's see. Joshua Jones says, I'm going to Rocky tomorrow. What I have on my rod, you're the best. Thanks, man. Do you have any fall fishing tips? We'll get to those next in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about fall fishing tips. I got some good videos on fall transition and stuff like that, but I got to get my head wrapped around it before I start trying to tell you guys about it. So Stephen Guthrie says, you need to get Zona on Friday Night Live. You know what? That might not be a bad idea. I haven't hit him up in a couple of years. I'll shoot him an email, see what he thinks. So you mean a toilet seat? It really cost $100, Bill. You're not right. Luann, how you doing? She says, qualified for the national championship and just can't figure out where to start breaking down all that water. Whoo, me either. I started doing it last night. I don't know. I'm going to get there a little bit earlier than a lot of people. I'm going to spend a lot of time just busting, looking at water and driving around. And I don't know. I really don't. And then I'm just going to pick an area and just let the chips fall where they may. So, Gene, have you ever fished Chickamauga Lake? Yes, I have. It's an hour and 20 minutes north of me. Matter of fact, I was thinking about going there tomorrow, but I may not. I got too many things to do around the house, but I'm definitely going to be there in the next couple of weeks. I owe a good friend of mine that owns a Chinese restaurant up there. I owe him a fishing trip. I promised him one 2 years ago, and I haven't been able to get up there to do it. So, all right, guys, I'm going to jump off of here. Remember, if you guys are interested in learning a ton from a lot of guys who are a lot better than me, a lot of the touring pros and stuff like that, check out Bass University. The link's down in the description. $15 a month is well worth what you're going to learn from there. I appreciate you. I love you. Thanks for following me. Thanks for being a fan, and thanks for everybody who donated. I'm beyond blown away. You guys are awesome. But like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water, go ahead and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.